Alright, continuing where we left off with yesterday. I need to unwrap the bottom piece of the shell there and pretty much do what I did before. So I'm going to hide all that, and for this just go do an unwrap, and I want to rotate that 180 because I want it facing upward just like the other piece. Not that it matters too terribly much. And then also, like the other piece, I'm going to tear this piece off, and I'm going to try and make sense of this shape to straighten it out, basically. See if this will go ahead and be nice to me right now or not. Conformal, I don't really want that. Let's try adaptive. Well, that certainly does a good job of removing distortion, but none of these are really giving me what I want. So I'll just go ahead and start forcing it to be in the right shape. So up, map this to a key, and just go through here. It's not quite all the way up. There we are. Oops, need to have something selected. And I'm not really concerned about the distortion on this. It's going to be distorted. What I'm really aiming for is just to have these spans here aligned. I want those to be straight. Even this bowing and stuff here doesn't really matter. I don't care about that. I'm going to actually be adding some of that in a bit later, and I should probably join this up because it'll be a bit distorted, more so than it needs to be when I'm done with this, and it'll help it out a little bit to add some of that bowing back into it. I should be able to go merge unselected. Now I need to drag these, knock these over to the other side, and this will just be a little bit tedious until I get this done. That really doesn't need to go all the way over there, but okay. Don't really need it all the way over to the side. Now we'll do the other side. And right. Now command to key, just replacing the same key, just to make this a little easier. Makes it at least a little less tedious. And now you can start to really see the pattern, the blocky pattern of distortion going. And that is a little bit much. We don't want to leave it like that. So that actually was easier than the other piece for some reason. Although, that said, it is still highly distorted. So in order to get rid of some of that distortion, I'm going to use a linear fall off with some snapping, enable grid and vertex, right and straight angle, all that kind of stuff. I need to re-enable this fall off. Do something like that, and let's go with linear at the moment. I'm just going to scale it. So that helps get rid of a bit of it. And one of the problems actually at the moment is that even though the other UVs are hidden, they're still affecting this to an extent. So yeah, anyway, I'm just going to do, actually before, back up a little bit. I want to clear this fall off. I'm going to just fit the UVs. Ooh, actually I just realized I need to put these on. And you know, I'm going to just try to see if it'll be nice and let me do something like this. Ah, yes it does. That's good. I might go back and do that on the other piece, because that looks a whole lot better. It was really quick and easy. Okay, now I'm going to fit the UVs. I'm not going to keep proportion, and that already kind of sorts it out a little bit, but basically I did that so that when I am scaling now, it will be centered. Because before it was a bit off-center. And really what I want to, I'm just going to leave this at something like 150 and 150. And we'll just call that good for now. I'm sure it's going to show up a lot more a lot more ugly than it currently looks as soon as I pack the UVs and get everything else in here. So now I can hide, and pretty much going to have to repeat the same process here. Let me go ahead and just fit the UVs. Actually, I'm going to take this. I'm going to see if it'll be nice to me again, and do a unwrap on that just to get that one piece. Take these edges, go down, and then do two selected. Yep, cool. I like that a lot better than just all the little jagged pieces sticking down. Good enough. Doesn't really look centered very well, does it? Interesting. Shouldn't really matter. Align that down. Take this. And this part of the shell should really be the only tedious piece left. And then I'll be able to get into Photoshop and throw on some gradients and all that sort of stuff, hopefully. So grab these and I'll do over same thing, map that to the same key. And, whoa, that was not good. Ah, yes, it's going through. Don't want that to happen. And it might be going through. Yeah, it's going to do that on all of them now. Nice. And it's because of that piece down at the bottom, joining that up the way I did. Instead of it being all split up like it was before, it's now not split up, which is good for certain things. It's easier on the GPU, the less seams and stuff like that you have. But it can make doing stuff like this a little more tedious. Won't take long though. And I'm hoping to be able to align the vertical spans on both this and the other piece. That would be ideal. I don't think it's going to work out, but I'm going to try it. And I really should have tried that before I went and distorted it. But I distorted it by 150 on each axis, so I'll be able to distort this by the same amount. And if the vertical spans are even close to each other, I'll then just be able to, kind of fudge it, make them align, so that then when I go texture it, I'll be able to save some UV space and save some time texturing. We're almost there. Almost there. And the whole point of this is really just to make texturing easy. Because I went and picked up some pictures of seashells online, and you can see basically what would be lines if you mapped a color to that line. See how it bends across the shell in the viewport, and that's the sort of thing you would see on a seashell, as just colored bands like that. And it works easiest to basically have this flat for the texturing side. Let's see, go ahead and fit this. I'm not going to keep proportion. This one's a little bit different. Pretty much most of the distortion is right there. I'm going to go ahead and do something like that, and then fit these again. And I'm going to go ahead and save this too, just so that I'm not overriding this one too much. Okay, same thing. Snapping is on. We'll get the fall off, linear. Click that there. Scale tool, and this should just be one. I can even just do this. 150 on both. Pretties it up a bit, but still I won't really know how much it's prettied up until I pack all these. Okay, so let's see. I don't want to mess with packing them just yet. I want to try taking this. While I could just snap this on there, and actually good. It does look like a lot of the spans kind of more or less line up. So what I'm actually just going to do is snap this. I'll just snap it over. So let's see. Snapping model. How do I want to do the snapping? Action center will be element. What I'm thinking I want to do is a drag snap rigid. Snap some precision, drag snap rigid. There's normally something I use in the 3D view, but it should work here too. I just have to figure out. Oh, it's not good. It doesn't have a center span like the other one does. Or maybe it does. Well, I'll just grab this. Try grabbing that. And it looks like we can probably slide this over. Something like that. Yep. And in case this turns out horribly wrong, go ahead and save it. So now what I'm going to do is just go in here, and I don't necessarily want to say move these up or down. What I would really want to do is just go in here and scale. That is the wrong axis. Scale these down. So I'm basically averaging these two positions. And this will give me, this will at least keep these spans even. Because they look like there's more or less the same number. There's a couple differences, but if they're close like this, they should be okay. Should be okay to merge like that, or to. And I just got switched somehow. But that one that's in here by itself, I'll just leave that one alone, because I don't think it's. You know, they would just collapse it on top of something else if I scaled it. And I don't want to do that, because I'll get a really nasty texture bit. And hopefully this will be the last little tedious bit. Okay, so these definitely can be joined, or, well, not joined. They can be merged up a bit. And actually, no, I'm gonna... These don't need to line up. Only pretty much the top and the bottom do. Sorry, I was being dumb and wasting time. So let's see. Because basically, you know, if I do a texture that's horizontal across this, the number of spans and the size and shape of the shell is different here anyway, and I actually I wouldn't want a line that goes across this to then go across specifically right here too. I don't really have any problem with there being a little bit of a difference in the separation there. So, since this top does pretty much line up and the bottom pretty much lines up, I think I'm done with that. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. And now I'm going to pack the UVs and I'm going to lock stacked so that these stay stacked, and then also this piece over here. Actually, I am missing a piece. There's a piece I have not UV'd yet. And I can get it easily by hiding these. Oops. I went one step too far. So this is what has not been UV'd yet. And it really doesn't need, at least in my opinion at the moment, I don't think it needs to be anything special because I think it could just be a solid color. I'm not even sure that it needs a gradient. So I'm just kind of thinking about whether or not I even want to have a gradient on this thing. And if I did, what direction it would be in. Because this, most of all of that is going to be obstructed by shell anyway, so you're not really going to see it. So I think I'm just going to go in and call this a solid color for now. But if I did want to change anything, it would probably be best to have it UV mapped from this view. So if I wanted to put like a radial gradient or something, or a cylindrical, not cylindrical, ellipse gradient basically coming out from the center, I can do that. But now I need to move this here and then do a pack UV, lock stacked, see what that gets me. And a lot of times this doesn't get me what I want. For example, this I want to be rotated, not that that really matters. The tongue, I guess, doesn't so much matter at the moment. Let's see, this guy though, like that doesn't need much UV space. This probably needs the most UV space. And then these, it's another one of those things I have to decide as far as a gradient or a solid color, or you know, how I want to handle that. I think at the moment they need to be flipped though. I can take this to 180, and I am considering tearing that out and making that kind of square as well, but I think what I'd rather try is making them more spherical. Let's see. Or I could just leave it alone. So I don't want to distort it too bad, but if I was gonna, I could make a radial gradient in Photoshop and then just scale it, which is probably what I'm going to leave it at. I'll either do that or I'll make it a solid color or something like that, but I don't think I need to have a gradient coming from the back to the front, because if I did that, then like the ridges on the inside wouldn't have the color. So I think I'll just leave it. Alright, but I know that this right here does not need much space. So for now, I'll even knock that down to 50%. This, I want to have more space, so I'll knock this up 150. See what that gives me. The tongue probably doesn't need much. Let's see how this works right now if I just pack, if I don't orient or stretch, if I just pack those. Okay. So what I should be able to do, get a little bit, and this is where you can, uh-oh, didn't want to do 180, negative 90. You can end up purposefully distorting your UVs a bit to get a more optimized texture space. So for example, like this, basically because of this piece here, I have this entire wasted section of UV space. So what I could do is, scale this down. I could scale this up over here, and it's probably not going to hurt. Probably because the tongue is one of the things that should be more visible, because it's going to be hitting you, going to be licking you. So this piece right here is going to be less visible, and I might as well just give it less texture space as a result, and try doing that. Okay, so now the issue we run into is with the tongue. But what I can do is I can distort this all I want to, really. I mean, and I might, but what I need to do is get need to have a look and see how. Oh wow! So the UVs are actually. Well, I know why. It's because I just gave it so much extra space that UVs look good. Let me just consider for a moment how I want to go about doing this. Because one of the things I was thinking to utilize more UV space is that I could just take this and, scale it up. And that might be what I end up doing. I could just scale that up. I could rotate this something like 90 degrees, slide that in, and then since this is probably going to be a solid color, I can really just scale this down and put it anywhere. It doesn't matter. So I'll rotate it 90 degrees for now and scale it in a bit and just put it like there. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as a new scene. So the thing is, if I tried using Moto's automatic packing, it's not going to give me something like this. I guess it actually did. Cool. I'm wondering if it, a lot of times it won't. I'm wondering if it just, if it's been updated again to take into account sort of where the positions already are or something. But that looks like I have plenty of space from the sides. And this is the main thing I wanted to get. I'm going to move this away from that a little bit. This, I can probably move that up and away just a little bit. This can move away a little bit. Just give a little bit extra space in here. And then something that I like to do is get the scale tool and just scale this down to like 98 or 99 to ensure that everything's got space from the edge. Because if you get mip mapping and stuff going on, you can have stuff like bleeding into each other and everything, and you don't want that. So save that, and vertex map, we're going to export our texture, export the UVs And this will be giant clam UVs. I'm going to go over here. So what I can now do is bring up Photoshop. And I'm just going to minimize that, go to the giant clam here, open with, alright, I'll have to open Photoshop first. And I'll just drag this in. And pixels, I want this to at least be 512. Yes, I realized that there. 512. And I'm wondering if I should make it bigger. Because you can always scale it down. You can always go down, but you can't go back up after you've made it. And I'm not going to add any AA. If you let it add the anti-aliasing, it will be really blurry. You won't really be able to see the lines. But so now I have a guide for doing whatever texturing I want to do. So let me go ahead and save this as giant clam body as a PSD with layers. And now I need to break this up into a few different layers and have a think a bit. So I'm going to have a checklist. Create and straighten shell, align vertical spans, pack, export, Photoshop, Clam and Brilliant. Yep, okay. On the schedule. So I need to be in Photoshop, and one of the things you can do is you could go in here, depending on how complicated your UVs are, you could go in and select the space in here and select the shape that way. Or you can select the shape this way and then do selected area is empty. Select inverse then. Shift Control I. I think I just hit Control I. Shift Control I. And then go in here and remove these different pieces so that my selection is just that. So that's one piece, and I can call this shell. Shell outer. And I'm going to select modify, expand. Let's try something like 5. That should be fine. And I'm going to just put a mask. Okay, so similar thing. You just go over to the UVs, do this, and we're going to have to do the same thing. I should be able to deselect that mask. Control Shift I, now deselect that mask. So that piece is gone. So this gets easier, more efficient as you go, basically. I don't know why I was being careful there. Select, modify, expand by 5, and this will be the tongue. Add a mask there, and rinse and repeat until we have all of the pieces. Remove, remove, and remove this. Call this, I'll just call this soft. I don't know. Trying to come up with a better name. Soft will do. Soft will have to do. Modify, expand by 5. Give that a mask. And now, the last one should be pretty easy. Invert that, remove this one, remove this one, remove this one. And that leaves us with just this piece. modify expand by 5. Call this shell inner. And I guess I don't really need that other piece at the moment. I'm going to save this. And now I can just start coloring this. From looking online, I found various shells. And one thing you'll see, pretty much all of them have a really brilliant blue color like this. Blues and greens and such on the inside. So I can take this into Photoshop, and if I were going to sample a color from it, I wouldn't just go straight in with the eyedropper and like pick a color. What I want to do is do a blur, a Gaussian blur here, just because that gives me, it just makes it easier to tell what color I'm picking, because colors can vary a lot from pixel to pixel. When you blend them in a little bit, it makes it easier for you to see what you're getting. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to go open the one of my other character models who has blue on them. The eel has blue on it. So I'm gonna try opening PJ's body. That's what PJ's body looks like. The UV map. Well, the color map from the UVs. And then the eel. Where is my eel? There is my eel. Eel body new. That's probably the right one. So what I'm thinking is I can grab that blue and use that as a starting point. Because let's go in here and just drop that down. So it's pretty close to the blue kind of in here, but I need a darker blue is what it looks like. I'm going to add, call this swatches. And actually let me see, do I have any good? I don't have any kind of like color adjustments or anything on top of that. So you can see I have different swatches here, and actually the Clam is probably going to use pretty similar colors to this, because if we're using blues, the color we're going to want to use on the shell, if I'm using blue for the inside of the shell, like the tongue and the fleshy bits, which may or may not work out. I think it's cool and gross, but we'll see. Let me just do swatch here. I'm going to go ahead and grab, since I've already got this yellow, this yellowish goldish color, I'm going to go ahead and add that one too. So for this, now I'm going to try and make this more brilliant, something like that. That should be okay. Just get a different variation on that. And here I've got pretty much, I'd want to go more onto the yellow. I'm going to also try going more into the red, but I don't want it to be red. And hopefully those are pretty much the only colors I'm going to end up using. Alright, so let's see, I want to do on the tongue initially. Let's see, what do I want to do with the tongue? What do I want to do with the tongue? I don't want it to just be a straight gradient. I think what I can try doing, select this inward, and let me go ahead and expand that. Select this, and then I'm going to modify contract. Let's try something like 50. And I guess I could have used the selection thing to select that as well. I'm thinking about this stripe, or this the indentation down the tongue, basically. I'm trying to figure out if I want the indentation to show up in the texture or not. So let's see, would I want the inside or the outside to be dark? The clam here, let's try looking at some of the other ones on my desktop. That one, that's not very helpful. I guess probably more dark toward the inside. And here are the stripes I was talking about. I'm talking about doing the striping on the shell. Okay, so I'm basically going to have to try a couple of different things. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. And I'm going to go with do I want dark in the center or light in the center? Light in the center, dark on the outside. So if it's going dark to light, then I probably want light on the outside. Dark to light. So the inside here is going to be dark. I'll just paint this in. And then, I'm going to delete this layer mask. Wait, no, I'm not. I can always remake this selection, so it doesn't matter. What I'm going to go do now is add a blur. Not to the layer mask, thank you. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I should actually have the lighter color down here so I can see how they're blending. Alright, select that. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. There we are. And we'll just put that at something like 50. I don't know if it's going to end up staying like that or not. Probably not. And for the inner fleshy bit, since I already mentioned that the inside will most likely be dark, what I'm going to go ahead and do on shell inner, come on, I thought I had the color, is I'm going to make it dark. And then also the soft part, make sure I have the right piece selected, is going to be dark. So shell inner, I'm going to do a similar thing that I did down here, with it being lighter around the edges. So that means that this one should be, I'll make this one light, and then I'll go in and for now I'm actually going to just, what did I do? Select this one. I'm in the right spot. Oh, I used, wrong button. There. Go in here. And I actually want to clear that whole layer. And then I want to do the same sort of thing in here. Select, modify, contract. And we'll try something like, probably need to go farther than that. Select, modify, contract, and we'll go another 15. Okay. How about, so we're at 25 right now. That puts it at 40. And we'll go ahead and grab this, paint in there, deselect it, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Guess it makes sense I would be using the same blur. And I guess, while I'm doing it, might as well see how it works out on the soft piece here. Control all, control, oop. I'm not sure what happened. Let me make sure that is selected. Control A, Control X. Okay, good. select modify contract 20. Except this needs to be dark. And then this one needs to be light. Why? Oh, okay. So that one is dark. This one. There we go. And I'm going to blur this. Gaussian blur, probably not 50 pixels on this one. This one's smaller anyway. Not just visually, but the amount of UV space and, well, such it has. Let's try 20 pixels. And I can go ahead and see how that's looking, but let's see where we're on time. We're doing okay on time, so let me just save this and try to fill in some sort of a color in here. So let's see, a gradient. I can go up here and I'm going to want like that color and maybe that color. We'll see. It's probably going to look a bit garish with these colors, to be honest, but I can always tweak them later. At the moment I'm just trying to validate the UVs, you know, the way I've UV mapped it currently. I'm gonna grab this and probably go with probably this up here. So do I want light? No, I want to reverse this. Well, I don't want to reverse it. I want to do the opposite of reversing it. And let's see, that's not giving me a hard. I guess it doesn't really need to be hard. I can mess with that later. At the moment, just want to. Let's see how this will blend if I were to do something like that. Let's see if there's. I don't expect these to blend well. Just right off the bat like this. Might just have to make up my own. Well, I guess darken is okay. Yeah, darken works fine. And I'm just going to create a couple more of these. Oop, not that one. This one. And see, so I can go in and actually, did that push away? No, it didn't. But I can go in and add a bit more detail like that. And give it sort of an overall yeah, why not? Start out there and then go like down to there with it. I'll actually keep that, but I'm going to reduce the fill on it so it's not so obvious. Okay. I guess I'll just leave it like that for a second and add. Actually, these UVs should be at the top. At the top. I don't need them anymore. So what I'm going to do at the moment, I'm just going to choose like a. I'll go with this color because it's pretty common for these other pieces. So save this. Then I'm going to save out a PNG and go toss this onto the character. so we can see how this looks. So item list, I'm going to select just have the whole item in here, go material and say Clam. And in the shading, go to the material, roughness settings, bump and stuff is at the bottom. There we go. Do something like 180. And I can get out of that window. Just go over. Well, actually, that window is not showing all the bones and stuff on things. So I'll just leave that. That's fine. I'll go in here and turn off the the wireframe. And now, desktop, go to the right folder and drag in this clam body PNG to here. And we have, it doesn't look too bad. It might be a bit saturated, but you can see exactly what I was talking about with having the lines wrapping around it and everything, and how it kind of looks disturbing, especially when you put orange against blue. It just looks disturbing. So I'm going to save this as a new file. And I'm going to pose it. Actually, I need to go to this tab. Pose it. I'm going to hide these wires again. And whilst I'm here, whilst I'm hiding stuff, I might as well go ahead and hide the locators. Uh-oh. And if I select, yeah, I can't hide the locators. That's fine. Pose it with, let's see, and just open it. Nom, 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 nom. It's not looking too bad. You know, for just tossing some colors on there, I thought it was going to look a whole lot worse. There's obviously more I can do. I would like this not to be so soft. The gradients to not be so soft. That's just a tedious thing to deal with. I don't think I need to show that on camera. And alright, well, it's open. I'm going to give it some licking. I'm gonna twist, let's see, twist the tongue a bit. And oh, well, that's lick horizontal. I meant twist. Twist the tongue a bit. That looks cool. Thank you. And I do start to get a little bit of a sort of shading stuff going over there, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to twist this anyway. Oh, come on, I'm clicking and dragging. There we go. Just the way it's rigged. The weighting, I might need to go smooth the weighting in there. But we're not done yet because I haven't scaled the tongue. So scale the tongue and then scale the tip of the tongue. Make this gigantic, like, smack you in the face tongue. Lick you in the face. I think it's pretty funny. Let me see if I can, I'll just close him up a little bit. It's like he's licking his lips. Alright, well, I think this might be a good place to stop. Let me see if, set up. Well, now I can hide. I can hide the stuff, but I'm not gonna. I'll just leave it here. I'm gonna take a screenshot and post this on forums or anything. Alright. Anything else I would do from here? I I don't think really needs to be shown as far as tweaking which colors I'm going to use or that sort of thing. So I'll stop here. It's a little bit early, but that's alright. And then tomorrow, I guess I will start animating it. So thanks for watching, and have a good night.